Mohanlal Shakshina, Unit Provision General. So, with your permission, I would like to move that this clause be referred back to the advisory committee for recognition. There are certain aspects of required reconsideration, and on the whole, I think it must be much better when the whole clause is referred to the advisory committee for this reconsideration. President Mr. Mohanlal Krishna have moved this clause and referred to the advisory committee for the consideration. I moved the clause 2 of clause 18 Mr. Bar referred back to the advisory committee. It was general sense of many of the members that clause would be recognized in the light of discussion took place. Mr. President, sir, I confess that I am considerable surprised at the amendments. Both Monakshi as well as Mrs. Nayagi. They have, I submit, given no reason why the clause 18 should be referred back to the committee. The only reason support of this proposal one can it's a right of minority should be relative. That is to say, we must wait and see the right of minority as given by the Pakistan Assembly before we determine the rights we want to give to minorities in Hinduism area. Now, sir, with all your defense, I must deprecate any such idea. Rights of minorities should be absolute right. They should not be subject to any of the consideration as to what other party may think to do to minorities without the jurisdiction. If we want a certain minority to which is interested and which is within the jurisdiction of another state, have not have the same right which has been given to the minorities in our territory, it would be open for the state to take up the take up the matters into diplomatic manner and see that is wrong or rectified. But no matter what you other do, I think we ought to do what is right to our judgment and personal. I think that the right is to indicate the clause 18 is a right whichever minority. Irrespective of any other consideration is entitled to claim the first right that we have given to the right to use their language, their script, and their culture. We have to state that there shall be no discrimination on the ground of religions, language, etc. in the manner. For admission to state education institution, we have said that no minority shall be precluded from establishing any of the educational institution which a minority may wish to establish. It is also stated that whether the state decide to provide aid to schools or any other education institution maintained by the authority minority, they shall not discriminate the matter of given grant on the basis of religion, communication, community, and language. Sir, I cannot understand how there shall be any objective to this right, which has been indicated in the clause 18. At any rate, nobody who has supported the motion that is maybe referred back to the committee has advanced any argument than either. The act was excess of what is minority ought to have, or any such of the minority ought not to have them. Therefore, it seems to me a great pity that labors of the three communities is evolved in the of a provision would be brusquely set aside simply because no reasonable people want to the matter should be referred back to the committee. I do not know the object of Mr. Friend Mrs. Munshi has subclause 2 as it stands, but if it is necessary that the subclause may be referred back to the committee, I certainly would raise no objection. The subclause may be referred back because I understand that we have limited the matter to state education institution and we have such said nothing about those which is only stated. If the point need to be further clarified, the matter may be referred back, but because there may be something to be said in favor of the reference back to subclass 2, but I do not see that the same logic would be extracted to the whole class. I submit that for the clause as the stand only passed and bearing clause 2, which is necessary to refer back to the committee of consideration. Mr. President, now there are two classes that have been referred to the committee of five. We may now take them up to one by one. The clause 13 may be moved. Report of Union Constitution Committee Clause 3. Mr. M.K. Mukshi, I move that the following clause to be submitted to the original clause. Every person, both in name and as a subject to jurisdiction, every person, neither whose parents was at the same time of such persons 2004, citizens of the Union and every person nationalized in the Union shall be citizen of the Union. Further, the provision regarding the acquisition and termination of Union citizenship may be made by the law of Union. The reason I am already being given fully in the report on the ad hoc committee, I have nothing to add to it. Sri K. Santhanam. So I move the following to be added on the end of the first paragraph of the clause. Every person born or nationalized in India before the commencement of union and subject to its jurisdiction shall be citizen of union. Dr. B. Ambedkar, Bombay General. Mr. President, so I think there can be no doubt the point raised by Mr. Santhanam is a point of great importance and we have to take the matter seriously. Difficult, the difficulty that has arisen will be seems easily to once wrote the very sentence of the clause was drafted by the committee. The draft said one person born in the union. Obviously, that is a reference to future. Those who will born in the union after the union is formed. The our question is, what is the going to be the position of people who was born in India but who are born before the union, who comes into union? It's my judgment. In order to cover this case, we shall have to introduce another clause. I'm not suggesting an amendment. I'm putting forth an idea. A new class shall have to be something like this. All person born in India, in definition to general clause act, who is residing in union and subject to the jurisdiction of the union shall be citizen of union. I think the clause somewhat on the lines is necessary and will covers the case of people who are born in India who will be subject to union when the union comes into being. Without this clause, a large number of people will be denationalized. They will have no nationality at all. Therefore, I suggest that it may be well sent to the whole clause back to further consideration. Mr. President, suggestion was been made and the whole clause be held over the further consideration. Mr. R.K. Sidhawa. This is not a matter of lawyers only. This is a question being bearing on every ordinary person. Mr. President, this advisory committee will be free to consider it, and if it so feels, it will put forward any suggestion on the next sitting. Honorable Sir Gopala Swami Iyengar. Sir, I move the clause 24. The superintendence and direct and control of all the election, whether federal or provisional, held under the Constitution, including the appointment of election tribunal for the decision of doubt and disputes arising out of or in connection with such election, shall be vested in the commission to be appointed by the President. Object of the clause, sir, it's ensured so far possible that election in the country, federal provisions are conducted in the impartial manner. Idea is to set up commission appointed by the president under those auspicious all these various aspects of election activities and post-election activities shall be regulated and controlled. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Mr. Vice Chairman, I think it is a desirable that I should state to the House an origin of clause. Although this clause appears to the Constitution which deals with the Union, as a matter of fact, the matter was dealt with the fundamental right of committee. The fundamental right of committee come into the conclusion there's no guarantee regarding the minority or regarding election would be given if the elections were left in the hands of executives of the day. Many people feel that the election were conducted under the auspices of executive authority, and if the executive authority did have the power, as it must have, transferring officer from one area to another with the objective of gaining support for the particular candidate who was favored with the party in office or with the government of the day. That will certainly dictate the free election which we are wanted. It is therefore unanimously resolved by the members of the Fundamental Right Committee that is a greater safeguard of purity of election for the fairness in election was to take away the matter for the hands of executive authority and hand it over to some independent authority. Although Class 23 does not specifically refer to the detail of scheme that was considered in the Fundamental Right Committee, I should like to state in the House of Scheme that was a mind of the members of the Fundamental Right Committee was that there should be a central commission appointed by the President in order to deal with the election throughout India. Although that was a scheme contemplated, that there should be a central commission appointed by the President and Superintendent. direct and control action. It was never contemplated that there would be only one commission sitting in Delhi at some center where the central government was seated. The scheme was that there should be one central commission, which probably would deals with the election to the federal parliament, but that commission would have also subordinate to its commission to each provisions. If the provision was too small to have a single commission, two or more provisions combined together, so that the affairs so far as elections concerned may be carried out by the local commission. From the very beginning of the idea that things should be decentralized. Therefore, should be one central commission in federal election, and there should be several commissions for election conducted in the various provisions. My submission: this is the if the scheme comes into operation, the point which my friend Mr. Patakar has a mind to moving the amendment would be gained. And because so far I understood from him that he wanted was that there should be a local authority or local commission which would deal and concern with the election in the provinces. I think that was our intention, although the scheme has not been mentioned in class 24. Undoubtedly was the matter of being in mind. Therefore, if a friend of Mr. Patakar still persists in putting an amendment through, I would like to ask him one question, which remains a matter of doubt when you read the amendment drafted by him. He wants to omit the words all election and substitute the words all federal election. I have very question objection to the amendment provided to satisfy me on one point. I want to ask him whether or not he accept the principle and of after all what we are concerned with the principle. What want to ask him is this: does he accept the principle that election would be placed in the hands of independent body outside the executive? If he accept that personally, I said I will have no objection. Please. I will have no objection if it is agreed by the House that a similar clause of contained clause 24 be introduced by the provisional part of Constitution. I have no desire for centralization. What we have in mind was that the election should be taken out of the government. The cabinet minister has a recommendation of setting up the advisory committee on fundamental rights, minority, etc. Accordingly, the assembly constituted in the advisory committee under the chairmanship Sardar Patel, resolution 24 January 1947. The committee consists of 15 members and Mr. Ambethkar was one. And the facilities working advisory committee and the following committee: fundamental right to subordinate minority subcommittee, Northeast Foreign Tribunal Act, excluding and partial, etc. Ambedkar was member of the first and two subcommittees and took being interested in the celebration. He also submitted a memorandum of underwrite and subcommittee in which some content shape of ideas. This memorandum was later published by way of circular under the states and minorities, which is the right how we secure the Constitution of Free India. The Constitution Assembly also appointed three other committees, namely Union Power Commission, Union Constitution Commission, the Provisional Constitution Committee. Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman of the first two committee, while the third one is under the chairmanship of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The commission was set up by the resolution 30th April 1947. So Ambedkar was a member of the Union Constitution Committee, and the report of the committee was submitted to the presidency of the Assembly Chairman Pandit Nehru. This work done by Mr. Ambedkar, the various subcommittee of the Assembly, was considered very useful and convinced the Congress bosses beyond the registration certification of freedom would not be easy without service of Dr. Ambedkar. The concern upon the participation of Bengal Dr. Ambedkar ceased to be the Ambedkar member of Constitution Assembly. The Congress party, which is earlier opposed tooth and nail to enter into the Constitution Assembly, comes forward to sponsor the candidate. These letter dated on 30th June 1949. The Dr. Rajendra Prasad, President of Constitution Assembly, and Mr. G. Khar and the whole ministry Bombay elect Dr. Ambedkar immediately. He wrote, apart from any other consideration, we have found Dr. Ambedkar works both on Constitution Assembly and various committees which he was appointed to be such order and required that he should not be deprived of the service. As we know, it is elected from Bengal. After division of provision, he ceases to be a member of Constitution Assembly. I'm anxious that he should attend the next session of Constitution Assembly comment from the 14th July, therefore necessary he should be elected immediately. According to Dr. Ambedkar, re-elected in July 1947, Bombay and members of Constitution Assembly as soon after the Prime Minister invited the a joint cabinet formed 15th August, year of independence. Dr. Ambedkar accepted the innovation and became the India's first law minister. And Assembly unambiguously elected him as a chairman of the drafting committee, which assigned the task of framing constitution. Dr. Ambedkar was who strongly opponent of Congress, had now been the friend, philosopher, and guide the constitution matter.